so we might be live now. I'm not sure.
Always live, Will. Always live.
What's that?
We're always live.
Yeah, you're right about that.
Hello. Oh, Mike.
Hey, guys.
Hey, yeah.
Hey, Dave, how are you? Good.
Okay, we move the chair down here.
I moved that because they have they sink on it, you know?
Oh, I see. This one sinks?
Yeah.
Is there one?
Yeah. I'm not, hey, Bob, how you doing?
Hi, good, thanks.
How you feeling?
Can we use these? Okay,
Good,
let's
thank
better.
you. Much better, yeah.
Yeah, good.
Sit here.
You have room for me?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we only have 3 planning board members tonight.
Yeah.
We have plenty of room.
We have plenty of room.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Yeah, Pete's not gonna be here, and Adam's, I'm assuming Adam's not gonna be
Huh.
here.
Yeah. Next one there. Hello. Thanks so much.
I think it's the right one. And these are, I have 3 copies.
Great. Just take one. You know, actually, give them to the, let me show this is
Lou, do you have a copy of this?
No.
You want one? I don't have another.
What is it?
It's just the.
I have it.
Yeah.
Remember what the Wi-Fi is out there?
I think it's like automatic. I don't think you need a password.
Pawling Village Public.
Yeah.
Thank you. Password.
Sorry?
I think it's asking me for a password. Oh, no.
Hi, Karen.
Hey, Karen.
Karen?
Why is everyone outside? I don't know. I know you think that everyone would know.
I sent you a couple of emails late.
Yeah, I saw the attachment, looked good. Left my phone in the car, so I only saw the one email, the first one.
Well, it wasn't that different. Let me just see. One came from Farrell.
No, I didn't get that one.
Yeah, it really wasn't that different. It was kind of,
Okay.
some typos.
Good, can we get a copy for you if you want?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
I need that back.
Oh.
You don't mind, I'll look at it.
No, I read it before I came.
All right.
I just don't have my phone on me, so I can't really look
Oh,
at it.
you don't? Okay. Oh, it doesn't matter then.
Yeah, I did read it.
Great.
Tuesday, October 11, 2022, planning board meeting. I'm gonna pull it. So we're on
Hi, how is everybody?
All right, how are you?
Good.
Yeah, just like that. Got it?
Hi, Greg.
When your letter was pretty much. Yeah, exactly.
7 o'clock.
All right, welcome everybody to the October 11th, 2022 Planning Board meeting. It is 7 o'clock. Viv, would you like to take roll?
Mike Mersan. Here. Peter Pinelli, not here. Lou Musella.
Here.
Adam Morosky's not here. Rob Pfister.
Here. Lou, would you like to lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, first thing on the agenda tonight is approval of the minutes from last month. You guys have a chance to review them?
Yeah.
You did?
I make a motion, we approve the minutes.
All in favor? Aye. All right, first on the agenda tonight, we have 550 Route 22 Happy Life Animal Rescue, or a sketch plan conference.
Good evening. Can I use this easel?
Sure.
Does it work?
I hope so. I think it does.
I'll just put this on there just to reference. There's not a lot of site plan information that we need tonight. As you may be aware,
Can you turn it just a little? Sure. That's perfect. Thank you.
Happy Life Animal Rescue is located on Route 22 near the Napa Park Stores you're all familiar with. They're operating in there now, and they're planning to purchase the property from Dr. Schutz, who is the veterinary hospital. And here tonight to have a discussion on how to proceed with getting the records in order, or if there's any work that needs to be done. The property was originally granted variance, which predated zoning, because they didn't have special permits at that time. And that was in 1961, and it's been operating as an animal hospital since then, until Animal Rescue moved in. And in 1999, our office helped prepare an addition for the property. And at that time, there was variances required for area variances, which was granted, and the property continued. Happy Life is moving in and going to have an operation that is not going to be a veterinarian hospital, but a rescue facility that'll take in animals, dogs, and cats, and keep them until a foster family picks them up and other ones come in. There's more than 10 or 15 animals out there. No interior changes to the structure, no increase in water usage, no increase in sanitary disposal needs, no traffic increase. Actually, it's not even going to be open for customers to come in, only by appointment only, to pick up the animal or look at look at some of the animals that are there. They do all their outsource with PetSmart. They take them once a week. They go and they bring the animals for rescue and pickup. And we're here just to see what you would like us to do, or what we need to do to continue the use, hopefully as it is, because we really didn't change anything. There is no more vet on site. It's basically going to be just for when a doctor comes in, they put on as-needed basis, if they come in once a day, if there's something coming in, but really there's no operations on site or anything of that nature. So we're here basically just to get an understanding and how we can move this to continue to use before they purchase. Everything's up on board and transparent.
Thank you. I mean, it's my understanding that use variances don't expire. You know, they go with the land no matter who buys it. Do you have any other plans there on that piece of property besides just the continued use of the?
Just continue, no site plan improvements. We really don't need to do anything. It's there. They're there and it is what it is. There's enough parking. All that was taken care of when we got the site plan and the variance approved in 1999.
Right, originally in like 1967 or something, when
Mhm.
Doc Frumer had the place.
1961, you know,
61,
got all that.
right. Is anyone gonna be staying there? Will you have people overnight, keeping an eye on the
overnight,
animals?
No, if they'll probably be, they're only done by volunteers, and there'll be maybe 4 of them throughout the course of the day. Not a lot of them, no employees as such as on a daily basis. It's just one volunteer that comes in, takes care of the animals,
Nope.
and then the next one comes in.
Three to four come in
Do-
in the morning. Maybe we go out for lunch and then we're back again, and stuff.
Okay, all
Yeah,
right.
and there's usually at least, 3 to 4 people now
Right.
rotating around. And it's, also kids can come in for community service hours to help out, and so forth.
But it's only during the day.
All right. I mean, it's my understanding that it's still the same use, basically, for what you guys are
That's
performing.
where I have a question. It was given a use variance for an animal hospital. I mean, first of all, I agree with the concept. I adopted a pet myself recently from Patterson, so I'm not against the project. I just want to make sure that in 1961, a use variance was granted, and we all know that use variances go with property. But I would argue that the use is not the same.
Do we have a
Rich?
copy of the variance? Have we seen a copy?
I wasn't able to locate one in the village file.
No?
Dave?
I may have something that would help you.
Yeah, I remember that the second time you were talking about, Joe,
Joe, did they actually board, when the vet was there, was boarding part, you mentioned boarding in your application.
It was.
right, when Dr. Schutz bought it, it did mention boarding in there, and I think it,
Hold on, Joe has it here.
Yes, we did do boarding there while I was veterinary.
You did, for people like going on vacation and stuff?
Yes.
Okay. Well,
We also acted as a
No, it's just the first
shelter
part.
for the town. Whenever a dog was found here, whatever, they brought it to us and we took care of it.
I mean, so it may be, we probably wanna think about it, but it may be that if this is primarily boarding, in fact, that they're doing it because they're rescuing dogs, you could argue that that's still boarding, I don't know. Let's see the variance too.
The variance was on the first page, I was going in that one paragraph. I think that's the 1999, the one in 1961.
Oh, you don't, I don't care about this one, I mean, I
You
know.
you need the 1961
Back
one.
from
That's the
61.
first page I gave you.
Oh, there is one, okay.
That's it right there.
Okay.
Do you have a copy of it?
right, the only thing I could find, like in the occupancy groups, were, it kind of all still falls under the same category with the animal hospital, boarding kennel. I mean, I see what you're saying, Lou, though,
Yeah,
that
I
it's
just wanna make sure that,
we don't really define the uses ourselves. We don't make that differentiate them specifically,
I'm sorry,
but
what zone is it in, Joe? It's in-
R1.
R1. And they got, 1961, there was a house there, and they got the variance to convert it into the animal hospital.
What was it before?
Just a residential house.
do you expand, or plan on expanding the kennel space that you have at all?
Not at all. Is that correct? No expansion.
How many kennels are there right now?
I think there's 20, and then there's four running kennels, and there's 20 cages in the back, inside the
Inside, there's 4
Inside.
outside,
Yes.
Four
runs outside.
Yeah,
4
4
runs
runs.
outside and 20 inside?
Yeah, 20.
We don't board outside at all.
Right, no boarding outside, so everything's inside.
So they'll be relatively quiet.
as quiet as puppies can be.
Yes.
Since you just got one, you know.
Quiet as it always has been.
Quiet, yeah,
The good
Bible says.
thing, the good thing is
so
next door at
nothing
Napa,
changed.
no, but they,
They can get kind of loud.
they can get loud.
I mean, it might, my 2 cents would be to give the applicant a chance to kind of argue the definition and what they actually used it for. I mean, it's kind of ambiguous, but a veterinary hospital, these animals, some of them are sick, or they're?
No.
No, so they're just coming in, so that's, yeah. It sounds like it was being used maybe beyond the use that was
Well,
approved.
that's what it is, it's
Yeah,
less,
but that-
less intensive of use than originally was granted.
No, what I mean is though, that the use, the boarding part may not have been an approved use, so you'd sort of, you'd kind of be exposed there, that you've got a, you know, a use without without changing the variance, which I would imagine would not be a hard thing to get, but it would probably be the safest thing to do, to have the ZBA take a look at it.
Does it go to the building inspector first?
Well, yeah, I could go to, yeah, I could, yeah, we can send it, the planning board can send it, I think, also, but, yeah.
What determination with the building?
Well, he's the first line of defense when it comes to determining uses and,
Yeah,
and that
he was talking about
uses
that.
fall in
Oh,
with
yeah.
the defined terms, or if it's not mentioned, what term it falls in most closely with and whether that handles it or not. And then if you appeal the decision of the building inspector, it goes to the ZBA. So, have you all seen the building inspector on this subject?
Wait a second, Karen, Bob has something to say, I think.
This board has the authority to refer directly to the zoning board.
Okay.
Without going through the building inspector, this is an interpretation question.
Okay.
It started with the building inspector.
Oh, you started with the building inspector with
We
this
did,
question?
right?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, Rob Apple, the village board recently, in April of 2022, issued a certificate of compliance. So the building inspector has been there, he understood exactly what was being used, because Happy Life has been in there for quite a while, and indicated there weren't any violations.
That doesn't matter, Rob.
I understand that, but
Yeah.
just to answer your
Yeah.
question.
Yeah, thank you. My question was more about whether you had spoken with the building inspector about the proposed change from the animal hospital to the animal rescue and what he had said in response to that question.
No, I haven't, but
Okay.
I'm a little, I'm not clear on the difference between the animal hospital.
Well, a hospital is for sick dogs and cats.
Right,
And
that-
and a
that-
boarding is not, I mean, again, it's, you know, it's just the way it is, I mean, it seems
Boarding
like
is defined
it may be
as, it's just temporary,
boarding.
so somebody
boarding-
picks them up.
They're not sick, so this is for, you know, this is a hospital, so if you had a hospital versus a, you know, a place for boarding, those are two different things. They are, I mean.
Well,
When hot-
rescue is for rehabilitation,
I know,
taking them
but it
in
just, well,
and giving them a week if we don't have enough fosters. Preferably, the whole idea would be to have them in fosters. That would be the number one. But they're for the ones that, like, people don't want anymore and
Yeah.
after having them in their house for a month and then they return them, you know, I can't keep them all in my house.
Of course not,
And
no.
then I'm violating. So we need a place that we can have a little space for them to come. And some of them are shy and need time to, you know, come out of their shell.
It isn't about,
But
know,
just so
the
you
use or-
understand,
yeah, it's
you know.
not I don't think it's a concern about the use itself, it seems like a very, you know,
And I
sort
do
of
believe
compatible.
they were using it as an
Right,
animal
but
hospital
they didn't have
and
approval,
boarding.
they didn't have approval to do that, though, that's the problem, so it just, I mean,
No.
I would imagine it would be a relative, well, I shouldn't say for the ZBA, but.
But even if they have an animal hospital, an animal goes in and has surgery, the animal doesn't necessarily go home overnight, so it should be taken that it's being boarded until the animal can be well enough to be taken home.
Here's the thing, Joe, it's ambiguous at best, and which the ZBA has the power to interpret, so it's gonna have to go to them no matter what. I wouldn't say it's clear, and, you know, that's what Lou was saying, and so I would think just go to the ZBA and get a variance, or, you know, apply for one, I can't, and then there won't be any question.
In answer to your question, the building inspector did indicate that he felt that all that was necessary would be a special use permit after his examination of the code.
Well, I make a motion, if it should be a motion, that we refer this to the ZBA for their interpretation.
All right, let me just at least say this first. Section 304, Business Group B, 304.1 Business Group B, New York State Building Codes. They have occupancy groups, and there's 3 here. Animal hospitals, kennels, and pounds are under one group. I don't know how that differentiates.
For
Is
building-
Their decision.
Well, for
Is
buildings.
animal hospital defined in our code?
It's not defined. It just,
I mean, we shouldn't resolve this, I mean, you know, if you want us to look at it and come back another meeting, but it may be quicker to just go to the ZBA and get the variance and then come back, because Rob's raising another question, he may be right, but what's a group for a building, code is not necessarily binding on the zoning, so, and we would need to look, maybe there's other things that could be done, but
Could I have some input? Sure. I've been a veterinarian since 1970, and I had a practice in Brewster. That was my dad's initially, and then I ran it. And it was always just, there weren't boarding places for dogs to be kept back years ago. I mean, it was the only place people had to bring their animals. So I never thought of this as having to have special approval. And so when I came here and started this one here, I never thought in terms that, that boarding wasn't just part of that. I mean, we're boarding dogs. I mean, if a dog is sick and we have to keep it overnight or whatever, and we would keep it for periods of time, I mean, to me, it's not really a difference. The biggest thing I had to do was to watch out that the animals weren't exposed to, to the healthy animals, and that was more, on me to make sure that, we didn't do it. But my staff that I had was basically there early in the morning to take care of the animals and make sure they, cages were cleaned and they were fed and everything. And it was, most of it was really around the boarding, and I never thought of it as not being part of just having an animal hospital. So that's my understanding, and now we have boarding facilities and everything else, and I can understand that you can see this is a little different, but back years ago, that wasn't the case, so.
No, I understand what you're saying. Unfortunately, it's ambiguous, so
Yeah.
it puts in, that's why that we have a ZBA to hear those questions, and,
Yeah.
you can make those arguments, that would I'm sure support.
But to me, this would be a better place to have them with that sick
Yeah, no,
animals,
I don't think anybody disagrees,
Yeah.
it's just,
Yeah.
unfortunately, you've got a variance that's very narrow in terms of
Yeah.
its,
That's interesting. I never would have thought that'd be the problem, but just give me a thought of that, so.
So, did you ever connect with the building inspector on what his opinion was?
I mean, that's what we came to. Like, I did actually speak to him, and when we looked at the groups from the New York State Building Code, it's not really differentiated here either between animal hospitals, kennels, and pounds, and there's really no mention of animal rescues. So, I mean, if that's the argument, whether or not animal rescue falls into animal hospitals, kennels, and pounds, I guess that's a better argument.
Well,
But I mean, it's still a kennel or a pound. in
Right, so but
some
outside
sense.
of what your opinion was, the building inspector said he thought it was
He felt
falling
it
in
felt
line
like
with animal hospital use?
Kennel and pound, the way it's described in the
Because if that's the case, if that's what the building inspector
occupancy classifications.
felt, then isn't the decision clear?
I think that's for you to determine.
Well, the planning board doesn't determine. It goes to the building inspector, and
Well,
then
then,
if
yeah,
it's,
but it can be, if it could then be sent by the planning board to the ZBA to say whether that they agree with that interpretation.
but I just want to be clear that so the building inspector,
Yes,
based on, and you disagree?
yes.
Okay, so that's all I want to
Yes.
make sure that the line was straight and clear. Okay, so in that case, then it does go to the ZBA.
Clarification?
And then Dave's point is it might just be quicker as opposed to going through that process to just apply for a use variance straight out.
And safer, because somebody could challenge it later, you know, if it's not, you know, so.
Once if we get the variance from the zoning board of appeals, is there no need to come back to the planning board, correct?
Well, a change of use still
Yeah.
requires a site
So
plan.
we're saying we gotta go to the zoning board of appeals, get a clarification that the use is okay, then come back to the planning board for the site plan approval?
Now, if they wanted to go back to an animal hospital down the road, would they have to then come back for another use variance for an animal hospital? It's not a
No,
continued
because
use at that point, right? They're
that
changing the
use-
use?
That's still, that use is still there, this would be like an additional use. That's a permit, right, Bob?
Is that null and void after another use variance would be granted?
I don't think so.
You have to take a look also, you know, when an application is submitted, it's a particular application that is seeking a use variance. Right? So that, and I think Lou mentioned this earlier, and I agree with you, is that the application that comes in is the application which receives the variance, all right? And so you have to, and there may have been a condition to this variance that we don't know about. So we really do need to look at it's from 1960, it's a long time ago. And maybe the records aren't there, and for now they're not, but we should at least look and see what the application was that received the variance. The other point is, I've been involved in a lot of dog cases, either on the municipal side or on the side of the property owners or opponents. I can tell you that dog boarding cases, neighbors come out a lot of times, and they're very unhappy people. They don't want to hear barking dogs and so forth. I don't know where this property is situated in relation to the neighbors, but one of the things that makes neighbors crazy is barking dogs. So there's a possibility, and I don't know this place at all, I have no knowledge of it whatsoever, but you could easily get neighbors having a big problem with this particular use. And the only other thing I would say is that, you know, with a veterinary hospital, my understanding is dog boarding is incidental to the care and treatment of the dogs. It's not a separate business per se, as far as I know, that where you board dogs, and whether they're healthy or not, you just board dogs for a fee and for no other reason other than to board them. And there's a distinction, at least in my mind, between those two particular uses. So that's what I have to say.
Dr. Schutz, how often did you have dogs while you were there in those kennels?
They
would
were
you say?
always majority of my cases, of what I had in the kennels.
Were they overnight stayers?
Oh, yes, definitely. We'd have them for weeks sometimes. And, you know, they would be outside during the day. We did, you know, there's no people right around there. There's Napa is next door. There was another business the other side. But way in the back, there's a road that kind of goes up the other side of Napa, and there's housing, I believe, back there. And I did have one person complain one time about barking dogs, and we talked to them, and then we kept the dogs inside, and we were much more aware of the barking. But that was the only situation we had where anybody that gave me any kind of a hard time about it.
And we've been there for over 2 years.
Yeah.
And we've not had anybody come. The chickens actually in the
Oh,
back
yeah, I
of
mean,
those
this
properties
was-
are louder than the dogs.
The chickens
So-
are very loud.
Yeah, this was over 20 years ago, but,
And it's just a process for something, it seems minor, but if you go into the zoning board of appeals, they may have a public hearing. By the time the public hearing over, we get an application, we're talking January, February, March, April, that this project could get approved, and the sale of the property can go on, and it's a hardship for the current owner and the people that want to purchase the property. And, you know, with the building inspector going out there, not giving a violation because they're boarding property, you assume that boarding was okay. Because he looked at the property and he said everything's fine, he gave you a good certificate. And now it's a terminology and a game of definitions that we have to go through probably 5 or 6 months process for something that will more than likely, in our opinion,
be approved by the zoning board of appeal, and then you get to the site plan, and then you get to the site plan, and then you gotta follow the entire site plan procedures for current, and that could change the whole site plan, it could even take longer, and the financial burden to this project would be detrimental to both the owner and the people that are working the property now. And, you know, if the board can make the decision, said, yes, this is pretty much the same application, except for the verbiage and the terminology and the definitions that could go legally up and down the scale, and it's happened.
It's unfortunate, I mean, you bring up.
I understand, but I just, for the record, I just wanna present it to the clients and the seller and the people, that it's a process that's cumbersome and expensive.
Hey, Joe?
And- Yes, sir.
So one option would be to have this board continue their review of the application pending if you were willing to take that risk of getting the variance, so you could do a double track.
If that would be up to, Apple and the owner.
So that would, cut down your time.
I would prefer that.
I prefer it also, just to get a definition, make sure we're all on the same page before we make a decision tonight to take us down the garden path.
I guess I got one more question. Is it just dogs? Are you doing like
Just
cats?
dogs and cats.
Dogs and cats?
Could I make, just recognize that the only time there would be a problem with noise would be when the dogs are outside of the runs. You don't hear them barking inside.
Right.
So concrete building, solid walls, everything else. And the only reason they're put outside is while we're cleaning the cages inside, we would put them outside. They get a chance to get some exercise, go to the bathroom, while we're cleaning the cages inside. And then we move them back in, and then we move another bunch outside, while we're cleaning the cages. But they're not generally out there all day long. It's just a matter of, having a place to put them while we're cleaning their cages and dealing inside with them.
Did you increase the kennels while you were there?
Yes.
Right, so, and you were given approval again, you were reaffirmed by the zoning board, whoever at that time, they said you're continuing the use, that the use variance was granted for, even with the increase in the kennels.
Yeah, I don't know if I increased the number of cages. They're in the same area. Actually, it decreased the area because there was like a big garage there at the end of the building, and it ran from one end to the other. And I took a third of that and converted it into an operating room. So I only had 2/3 of that space now for animals. Used to have cages all down to the middle, and animals on both sides. And what I did was kind of reversed it so they were on the outsides. And I put in bigger cages. The others were mostly only like 24 inches, maybe 30 inches, and I put in some 48-inch, 50-inch, 60-inch cages that you could put a partition in, and so they're all really nice stainless steel cages.
Right.
Where the other ones were just metal and painted and not as nice.
I think that's the biggest concern probably that I'm hearing, that they're just worried that the amount of dogs outside are gonna make a lot more noise. And that would affect the neighbors more than what's been going on there for years, because I think he was like the pound for Pawling. Like all stray dogs were going there for years, for the past 20 years they were going there. And the same amount of kennels that were there. There was always dogs, like in and out of the building, so.
Oh, yeah, always.
There's only 4 runs outside.
Right, no, I know. Yeah, I myself don't feel like the use is really changing all that much, like from what was there, the amount of dogs that were probably there.
That's where you and I disagree.
Yeah, but
Because originally it was an animal hospital with a veterinarian on site. Now there isn't. I mean, it's just.
We work with Dr. Knaus, who used to be the original owner for that, and Dr. Knaus comes over for visits, and so does Dr. Clark. So there is there is 5 or 6 different veterinarians we work with.
Right. No, I know what you're saying, though, we'll be active.
Yeah.
You're not bringing your dog there to see the vet. The vet's coming to see the dog.
I just wanna make
instead.
sure that, I think it's a different use.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
No, I hear you.
my concern.
Would you,
It's explained in the application that way.
Right. Yes and no. I mean,
Send it-
yeah.
we'll send
no,
it to
it's
the
gonna
ZBA,
be-
give them the interpretation,
Yeah,
they grant them
alright.
use variance,
Can we go the other route
All
that,
well and good.
attorney recommended that we just have it get an interpretation and see if we can come to an agreement? Maybe other board members may be here at the next meeting and agree
That's
with
not
the
what I was
interpretation?
saying, Joe, that's not what I was saying.
Okay, what would you,
No, I
what
was
would
saying,
you?
if you wanna proceed with the site plan review by the planning board, you know, you do that, you do it at your own risk. If there's no variance granted, then, you know, you
If they
wait.
determine the use is just a continued use from what was there, right? Like
Well, either
zoning
way,
board
you're
come
looking
back
at,
and
you're
say-
looking at the issues that you normally look at, you know, and
Right.
they're looking at, so you'd be assuming, the condition of your thing would be that the use has to be approved by the ZBA, either under variance or interpretation.
Right, but that's really what they're asking for, right, is if the use is continuing,
Or a variance.
right? Or if a new use variance needs to be granted.
Right.
So if we send them, if the board refers them to the ZBA for an interpretation, concurrently, they should put an application in for a use variance in case the board, decides against it. And that will save them some time as opposed to having coming back another month later to submit that to the ZBA. Do you agree with that? Is that,
Well, I'm sorry, Ken, I was looking at the definition, you were saying.
so if the planning board refers to the zoning board for an interpretation, at the same time, to be most expeditious, they should apply for a use variance. And that way, if the interpretation
Right,
comes in as a
absolutely.
denial,
Absolutely, yeah.
they should have the use variance application
Yeah.
in there right then, so
An
they're not
alternative-
losing
you know,
another
the
month.
Alternative, either tell us that this animal hospital variance also allows boarding, or if not, then we're seeking a use variance.
If the interpretation is favorable to us, you still have to come back to the planning board for site plan approval, or would that end the process?
Yeah, no, you need site plan approval, but what I was saying is if you're relatively confident that you're gonna get one or the other, you could keep this process going. So you're not, like you were saying, you don't wanna lose time, so.
If they were to determine that the use is just continuing, if it falls under that category of animal hospital, wouldn't that just be the sale of the property? That just goes with the property, right? Even when you buy it, you don't have to come in for a new use variance, the use variance continues.
Well, that's true, if it's the same use, why would you even need?
Site plan approval?
Yeah.
That's what
That's,
I'm trying to get that clarification,
Yeah,
so that
no,
everybody
I mean,
understands
that's
what
the-
we need to do, so when we move forward, it's not, okay, now we gotta do this, so if you can just repeat.
So it's probably better for you to get the interpretation that it's the same, but I don't, that's
Right.
gonna be up to the ZBA.
Correct, so if the
If we don't-
interpretation is the same use, then we do not need to come back for site plan approval.
All right, the building department's allowed it to continue, they felt that the use was the same, but sure, I mean.
Correct,
if-
I
Lou.
think so.
If they grant a
Yeah.
special use permit for the project, then we would have to come back for site plan approval, or not?
The use variance,
Use variance.
Yes.
yes, it's a
Then
use
come back,
variance, it's not a
okay.
space, yeah.
And Joe, I wanna check, I think that's correct with the first thing, that if it's, cause I believe that's the only criteria.
If you could do that, that would help us
Yeah.
have a direction and a path and a goal to meet.
Is this set up for processing?
There's a lot set up for processing.
Escrow and things like that.
Well,
Oh, this is Vernon Sketch Plan Conference right now.
Well, he was talking about answering legal questions, so
Yeah.
if we're gonna be answering legal questions and looking at those things.
Well, let us make the application to the don't need to get an interpretation right now. Let us make the application, if you direct us to the ZBA, we'll make application to the ZBA for both the interpretation and the special use that simultaneously, if they're favorable in our direction for.
There's no special use permit for,
Use variance.
yeah, it's just a use variance, no
Just a use
special use
variance,
permit for,
okay.
because it's the R,
Gotcha.
it's an R1, I believe, yeah.
Go ahead.
The cutoff is tomorrow
You have to make the submission for the use variance tomorrow.
Tomorrow, okay,
by noon.
okay. Well, we got most of the
Well-
application done, so.
Yeah, you have most of
We
it.
have the application we submitted with this, for the concept, we have a lot of that information there, so we'll try to see if we can meet the goal.
Yeah. Yeah, there's others, it's posted on the website,
We'll try to-
I mean, we don't, I don't know if I should set escrow, we don't really have an application in front of us, you can, zoning board's gonna set escrow for interpretation with you
Whatever,
guys.
if
Yeah.
we're gonna be doing stuff, then that, should be,
So can we make, okay, so you don't need to make a referral, because we only have concept to the zoning board?
Yeah, we are gonna make a
You do
referral to
need
the
to.
zoning board.
All right.
Can I get a motion
Yeah, I make that motion.
to
Definitely.
send this to the zoning board for
Yeah.
clarification on this use variance, and if it pertains to, if you need a new use variance, or if the use variance was in place, is gonna continue under these operations.
Understood. You're good, right?
All in favor?
All right.
Aye. All right.
Thank you.
So you understand you need to make that use variance application tomorrow, though?
Correct.
Okay,
If I can get it in, yes, we'll make it.
okay.
Thank you.
All right, next up, 527, 22, Dwayne Lake Academy.
Good evening, Clayton Livingston for Dwayne Lake Academy, and Golden Rose, the owner of the building at 527. So the building at 527 was originally part of the, as you saw in the survey, the Center for Positive Learning, Center for Positive Thinking, I'm sorry.
That's actually, well,
They're all part of the same property.
no, it was my office.
It was
It
was an
ever-
insurance,
It was an
insurance
insurance
office.
agency, and then it was a law office, and then it was, I
But
don't,
but before that, it was a Center for Positive Thinking.
no, it was built, my dad was the insurance agent there. He built that building with the Peels own it,
Right,
so that may be why you're confused, but
okay.
doesn't matter, I don't know that.
Okay, well, it's on the same property.
Yeah, yeah,
It was all part of the same property.
I don't know
The
that.
The Peels
You say so.
property?
Is it one big lot, is that what you're saying?
Yes,
One tax lot?
correct.
What could that be if it was
No,
taxable,
it's too
taxable, it's a taxable parcel.
It got subdivided in order to sell it.
It was I don't know how you'd have a not-for-profit with a tax exemption, I assume they had a tax exemption. Anyway, I mean, you might want to just
Okay.
check that.
All right, well, okay, so what we're here for is we have a building that is next to Mizentop. It was the same property, it was on the Peel property, but whether it's a separate tax lot or not, it's part of the Peel property. There is a school operating in the Mizentop school next door, and the Dwayne Lake Academy was operating in that building for the last 8 years. Dwayne Lake Academy is a tutoring school, 10 to 12 students, 3 to 4 staff. What they'd like to do is move across the parking lot into the building that was formerly Danielson Portville.
So you say it's a tutoring school?
Tutoring, yes. Yeah, they tutor,
Is it similar to our regular public schools that we have right now?
it's kind of like a bridge between homeschooling and a traditional school. So what they do is, when children are homeschooled, they bring them there for the testing to advance from one grade level to another. Because there are state mandates to graduate from one
That
grade level
was
to
gonna
another.
be my next question.
Right.
So they accumulate all the necessary mandates that they need to
They
graduate?
work with the state to provide a curriculum and testing for the children so they can go from first grade to second grade to fifth grade. Even though they primarily get homeschooled, this is the transitionary,
They go
the
whatever-
certification phase
Okay,
for homeschooling,
okay,
basically.
okay.
Okay, so it's 10 to 12 students, 3 to 4 staff. The space that they're using is on the first floor. It's half of the first floor, and it's this space on this side here. This is where Berlandy is on this side over here. It has a entrance here through the lobby and an exit over here. It has 2 bathrooms in it. It has a staff area or a gathering room, so to speak, with a sink in it. So that would be, if they had everybody wanted to be in one room at the same time. There's 4 offices here. So for the 10 to 12 students, that would be 2 to 3 students per office or per classroom.
And how about growth?
They don't grow. No.
As far as.
They've been at, Dwayne Lake Academy has been operating next door at Mizentop for 8 years with 10 to 12 students.
And that's it.
Yeah, that's it. They don't expect to grow, they're not looking to grow. If they did look to grow, then they would be looking for more square footage, but that's not what they're looking to do now. And if they did, and there was more square footage available in the building, we'd love to give it to them. We, think that what they're doing is a good thing for the community, for the service. They've been doing it for 8 years, very successful at what they do, so.
And you enter the building through the backside, I would imagine, correct? Is that what you just?
Yeah. Well, this is the Route 22 side over here.
Right, okay. Yeah,
And you come in through the parking lot side.
Yeah, I'm
You
familiar
can
with the
go
property.
on the right-hand side into Berlandi, left-hand side into where Daniels and Porco was here. And then it was the insurance company.
Are we talking about on the Route 22 side?
No, on the
backside?
On the backside, yeah.
Okay, I got it, yeah,
It's
okay.
it's ground level walk-in,
Mhm.
and there's 2 steps up and 2 steps down.
Yeah, I'm familiar with
There's an entrance and an exit for their space.
Mhm.
So there's an exit, push-out door here. The only construction that we need to do to make this different would be to change this door from a regular door to a push-out door like this, so that you can, push out and get and escape, because that's what they're mandated by the state. And upgrade our fire extinguishers. State wants us to have different fire extinguishers. So it's not really that we're going for any construction here, we're not looking to change anything. The building is fine the way it is, the rooms are fine the way they are. They're gonna put maybe some paint on it, but to change the colors to their colors, but
You basically just want to move from one building to another.
that's all. Right across the parking lot. And as you can see on here, because safety is paramount, of course, that we're not on the 22 side. This is the road coming in that goes through and out onto East Main Street. And this is all Mizentop over here. This is 527, which is the side they'd be on. 517 is where Berlandi is. And Pawling Central School District is over at this end of the building with their corporate offices. So cars could come in here, loop around, drop off and pick up. I'm sorry, did you see that? Did you just see that over there?
Yeah.
Okay. Thoughts, questions, concerns?
Do you have an estimated cost of what you think construction would be?
$500. Just need to change the door. Just need to make the door push-out door. Just need to add that bar onto it.
I'm gonna let Karen she looked at this, I'm gonna let her go through.
Okay.
I know what she had summarized here.
How many square feet is the school proposed to occupy?
The square footage, I think we decided was somewhere in the neighborhood of about 16 or 1700 square feet. And part of that is storage area, so it's a little bit less than that they're actually gonna be using.
So 517 is right next door to it. Pawling Central School District occupies the next adjoining building, is that correct?
It's all attached.
It's all attached?
Yeah, the buildings are attached.
Okay. And the first floor and the second floor are exactly the same on this portion of the building?
The second floor is divided up into various offices.
I
So-
just meant like in terms of size. It was hard to tell from street view because I could see that it's built into
For
the
the
side.
size of the building, no, the second floor is actually larger because the back of the building sits into the hillside. So there's more square footage on the Route 22 level than there is on the Mizentop level, for lack of a better way of explaining it.
Gotcha. Okay, so A special use permit, per the code, is supposed to be accompanied by a site plan application.
Okay.
Which you guys have not, I mean, you submitted the application, but what I'm talking about is the full accompaniment, which is the site plan and all of those things that go along with it. That's a survey.
So, but this survey this isn't really a survey because it shows the buildings. A survey, by definition, is a survey of property. This is, I mean, I don't know what.
Well,
else you
it says
want.
survey of property on there and it's
Right,
stamped by
it
a
does
surveyor,
say
but yes, I
but
understand what you're
It
saying.
does show buildings on
Yes.
it. It shows the buildings, it shows all the parking on it, it shows the recreation fields.
Mhm.
And they're all designated on there.
Is that
So-
copy, is it legible? Because I know the version that we got emailed was kind of hard to read. So there's a portion of the property that, it was hard to tell what had happened as part of the filed map, but the portion that's proposed for soccer, it wasn't clear to me that that was actually fully under the, control of the owner of this particular property. Because it's delineated on that survey and marked.
That's a good question.
Yeah, okay, so I'd like to know the answer to that.
Okay.
Also, the survey, we need a legible version of it if we're proposed to use that as a site plan, and I'm not entirely sure that that is permissible. That's something that
Okay.
should be explored further. But let's just set that aside for a minute.
I can answer the other question. And the question that you have and where it shows the proposed soccer field.
Mm-hmm.
When the appeals divided off the property, this portion of the property is actually owned by this building.
Uh-huh.
So right now, we have just gotten a indemnification from the appeal, from the Mizentop,
Mm-hmm.
indemnifying them for the use of this portion of the property that's owned by this.
Okay, yeah, because the survey that you have has it's just not clear on there. So,
Well, hopefully that will clear it
Yeah.
up for you.
Okay.
I mean, you can see on here the way this is the property boundary here.
mm-hmm.
And then you can see on here, this is the property boundary.
Well-
So it includes this portion of the field, and that's the portion that's in discrepancy right now. That's why
Mhm.
it's dotted like this
Yep,
on here.
yep.
Insight just updated this map with this dotted on here last month, 2 weeks ago.
Oh,
last
okay.
month, so that we could discuss with Mizentop how to address this portion of the property. So we do intend to deed this back to Mizentop,
Mhm.
or sell it back, or lease it back. It's just the attorneys are working that out right now.
Okay,
So you
so
have
the-
an updated survey?
yeah,
Yeah.
okay, great,
Yeah, This was all just done by them in September.
great.
Because we're right now, talking with the attorneys as to how to work out, keeping everybody safe from each other and all that stuff.
Okay. So as you move forward, we would like to see a copy of the updated survey.
Okay.
Let's see, okay, so you said the number of staff is 3 to 4 and the number of students is 10 to 12. I think previously we had heard 15, so are you sticking with 12 or should we stick with 15?
15 would be an outside number. Right now we have 5.
Understood. I think we just want to plan for the maximum, because I don't think you'd like to find yourself in a place where, you couldn't have the number that you wanted to have. So that's what we need to understand, is what is the maximum that you could ever potentially want to have there, so that, because it's going to get written into the special use permit conditions if you continue with the application, and so that's important to think about over time. Let's see. So I know there are 2 days at the facility. Is it that certain students are in on certain days and other students are in on other days? Or is it like every Monday and Tuesday the facility is occupied, but the rest of the days of the week it's not?
Monday, Wednesday, and Friday it's not occupied, except for maybe a staff member working on records.
Okay.
So for school kids, Tuesdays and Thursdays.
What are the hours of the operation for the school, and when is drop off and pickup?
9 to 3, and parents are always with their kids.
Okay.
So the parents stay
Or
there.
part of the staff too.
So at 3 o'clock it closes, but there's still some administration on site?
Till tops 4.
Okay. And do they arrive earlier than 9? Maybe 8? No? Okay. So you demonstrated the vehicular circulation. As we move forward, we would want to see that in the site plan documentation. And for any protocols in place for vehicular and pedestrian safety to be discussed, detailed. I guess, you know, a lot of times people don't park, right? They just pull up and drop their kids off.
No,
and
as she said, the parents stay with the children
Oh,
the
this is
entire
correct.
time they're
Okay.
there.
Thank you for
The
that.
homeschooling thing extends into the classroom here in Dwayne Lake.
Okay, so there really is no pickup and drop off in the conventional sense.
Not without their parents.
Gotcha, okay. So the parking requirement for schools is 1 space per 20 students. And the parking requirements for professional office is 3 spaces for each office. So the building plan that you gave us is only for a portion of the overall building. And in fact, the first and the second floor aren't the same size. So from my calculation, assuming that those 2 floors were the same, and that's only a portion of the whole building on the property, there should have been 48 parking spaces allocated for the offices in use. I don't know that the village has an approved site plan on file, although maybe someone could get a hold of it.
I did see one, there's 53 spaces there.
Okay, so there's 53 spaces. So we need to know if there are 53 spaces on site. My count based on the aerial was something like 43, but we'll get the updated survey and that will help us understand that. Maybe you want to check that before it comes in to make sure it correctly allocates the spaces, because sometimes they just, you know, they don't actually delineate them. The point I'm getting to here is that, you know, we need to make sure that there's enough parking for the school. That being said, the school is only required to have 1 parking space, and the board has the ability to waive that per the code. So if we can determine that there's adequate parking, then I don't think it should be a problem per se. But we do know that there are parents coming with 10 to 12 students, only 5 today. And so we should just, you know, consider that as we move forward through the application.
I know, that's the only problem I see there. If the parents, if you do end up with 15 kids, it's gonna be 15 cars, really. It's only 1 spot for every 20 students, but you're saying that parents
Right.
are always with the kids, then you really need
Right,
up
but
to
if
15
you,
spaces.
if you did come to the property, I mean, you would see that any time between the hours of 8 AM and 6 PM, any day of the week,
That's
7
assuming-
days a week, that
yeah.
there's at least 20
That's
empty
ass-
spots in that
Sure,
parking
that's
lot.
assuming that the tenants stay exactly the same for the entire
Correct.
period you're there.
Yep.
Yeah, which we can't.
Well, if they change, then they would have to deal with that, right?
The building owner, or?
Well, whoever, if there was a change of use, then that would be,
Yeah.
I mean, to me, if they're.
It's outside of
if
office.
you're getting less, if there are less parking allocated to this, I don't see why you wouldn't maybe consider a waiver. I mean, it just doesn't seem to make them have to, you know, when they're using one, you know, kids
Oh,
are
it's
dropping
2 days a
off
week.
during off hours and.
Well, there's no drop
I mean,
off.
that's up to the
Yeah.
board, but
Yeah.
it seems.
Just gotta think about it, for sure.
Okay, so we did provide a comment letter, and so we'll look to have the comments responded to in your next submission.
Okay.
If you don't have the building plan information for 515, which is comment number 12, because I just was trying to understand how much area was in the Pawling School District building, but it sounds like we found
There's 8.
an approved plan. So
Well, yeah, and there's 8 offices, from what I can tell from the site plan, for the Pawling offices.
Mhm. So anyway, I don't need you to help me find the building plan information. It looks like we can find that information through something else.
Yeah. And those offices aren't always staffed either. I think they usually have 4 or 5 people in there at most.
Right, I mean, you know,
But even if you had, like was said, even if you had 1 person or 2 people per office for the entire property, we still have plenty of parking.
Yeah, I mean, you'll have to apply for a waiver, the parking waiver from the planning board, so to the extent you can provide a rationale for that, you should.
Okay.
And,
I thought we did have enough spaces.
Like she had said, it's
Well-
for every office, you should provide
it's
three
three
parking
spaces per office.
Right.
So,
There's a total of 48?
It's
no, that was
24.
for only part of the building.
Right.
So you have to, I mean, theoretically, there should be enough spaces for all of the building on the site. That's what would have been approved.
Okay, so you're saying that the 48 was just for the upstairs?
I'm
on
saying
one
that
side?
yeah, you all provide a building plan for only part of the building.
Correct.
And I couldn't tell whether the first and second story were the same or not. So I asked you, and you told me that the second story is slightly larger.
Right.
I assumed they were the same.
Right.
And there was something like 16 offices. So 16 times 3 is, 48 or so.
Mhm.
And I only counted visually 47. The approved plan has 53, so we need to see what was actually built. And then we still haven't accounted for the offices within the Pawling School District building, which I guess is only one, because it's one office, because it's a Pawling School District. So that should have 3 spaces. So, yeah, I mean, just need to run the numbers, but irrespective of that, the school is required to have 1 space, and the planning board has the ability to waive that. So, if you can make a rationale saying that it's waivable based on all of these reasons, that would be helpful to the board to weigh that information.
Okay, so perhaps the days of the usage compared to the overall usage, since they're only there basically 14 or 15 hours a week.
Yeah, something like that, and then I don't know what the hours of operation are for the school district. They may be a 7 to 2 p.m. joint, you know what I mean? Like, you have different hours of operation, so there's different peak periods. You might choose to look at the parking lot over time and see when its heaviest parking period is and how many of the spaces are occupied. I will just say that I suspect there's quite a number of vacancies in the building, given the economy right now, so, if the building were to fill out, that might be different.
If they come in, the building will be full.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Awesome, okay. A deed is.
Like the people that are upstairs, I mean, we have Sean Dalrymple, who comes and goes and checks plans. We have another architect engineer that's there 1 or 2 days a week.
Mhm.
We have a bond trader that just has an office there to get out of his house. We have a couple people who do social work, in the evenings.
Mhm.
So again, you could come there any day between 8 a.m. and 6 p.m., and there would be at least 15 parking spaces. I mean, I've been going to this property now for the last 7 or 8 months, almost on a daily basis.
That's great.
And there's, 24 parking spaces anytime I go.
So just put it in writing, that's
Okay.
all.
Okay, so you're gonna give us a letter that delineates exactly what you want from us, or what am I doing next?
Did you?
Comment letter?
Yeah, did you send the comment letter to the applicant? Okay, so yes, it will be forwarded to you.
Okay, so then I can go to Insight and get the updated plan with more readable legend on it, so that you can see what's there, and put the whatever other comments that you want on there?
Yeah, I mean, you should respond to the comment letter in writing.
Okay.
As to the requirement for a site plan and the full suite of requirements there, I don't know, Dave, do you have an opinion as to whether a updated survey from Insight would be suitable? Do they have to provide the whole suite of site plan documentation? It's a special use permit.
I'd wanna look at that, Karen.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
I'm just checking to see what the application fee is. You think it's $500, the amount of reservations you're doing?
We're putting in a door. We're putting in a push-out bar on an existing door.
Commercial door?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's basically changing the latch to a push-out from a handle.
I'm just trying to, do you know offhand what the application fees are, Vivian? Regardless, I think it's gonna fall into the smaller scope, based on what you're telling me anyway. I think the cutoff there is, That's $3,000 or less. And you still fall into a $500 application fee.
Yeah, we have no problem with any application fees, whatever it is it takes to get this done. We're just trying to, I mean, right now, the school wanted to start in September. We're at the middle of October, and these kids are gonna, need to get certified by the end of the year, so we're just trying to help out the process. We didn't expect that it was gonna be a challenge like this, otherwise we would've come here earlier. We, it's my naivety thinking that I could just have offices and have the school there with kids and it not still be an office. That was my naivety, so I should have brought it before you before that.
Are you the building owner?
I'm the property manager for the building owner.
All right.
We've only owned the property since January.
All right.
That's why we're still having the challenge with the soccer field thing.
We do need the deed as part of the application. It's one of the requirements, a copy of the deed.
Okay, I have that.
And as to the soccer, can you explain a little bit, so that's, would only be on the 2 days that they're in on Tuesdays and Thursdays, or how's that work?
Okay, so the field right now is owned by the Mizentop School. There's a portion of the field that falls onto this property. I've spoken to the director at the Mizentop School, and she said that Dwayne Lake has used the soccer field for their recreation or going outside to stretch their legs for the last 8 years, and that they would continue to allow them to do that once they're in our building. In answer to your question as to that portion of the field that's owned by this property and used by the Mizentop School, we're still navigating that water right now.
Okay,
So
but I'm just more asking about the school operations of the soccer. Like, how frequently are the kids out there playing? Are they just gonna be there on Tuesdays and Thursdays?
Yes, we usually get from 12:30 to 1,
Okay.
Tuesday and Thursday.
So it's like after lunch.
And finally, I think that this could be classified as a type 2 action under seeker, so that they wouldn't have to fill out a short form or long form.
They would not.
They would not.
All right. I mean, I think I'd like to set escrow tonight if you guys are gonna continue with this application. For sure, if you're coming back for a special use permit and.
Yes, please.
All right. Karen, what do you think you would stand on the review of this project as you see it so far?
The standard is $2,500 for me.
All right. Any legal fees that you can think of, Dave, where it might put you at?
Not a lot. I mean, you might wanna put like 500 or something like that, just to,
Yeah, well,
questions like you just asked.
Yeah, we want Dave to weigh in as to whether there's any portion of the site plan application materials that
Right.
could be waived.
Yeah, I would say.
3,000.
All right, you guys are comfortable with that?
I'd just like to go on record and say, we have given Dwayne Lake Academy, because of the nature of their use and the amount of their use, we've given them about a 60% break on what we have charged for other office space in the building. So what we've given them, because they are, as you can see, a mom and pop operation, it's a couple of moms that have decided that they want to have their kids go a less conventional route, and they are just trying to keep within the state guidelines. So with 5 kids, the amount that you're asking for is a little bit more than, well, put it this way, it's twice what their rent is, so.
It's not that you would spend all $2,500. It's an account that
Okay.
gets drawn down. So
Okay.
whatever isn't spent gets returned to the applicant.
Okay. All right.
But there is an actual application fee, and that is separate.
Yeah, that's the $500 for the application fee for what you're telling me that you think the
Yeah,
cost
the
of
500
construction
for an
is gonna be.
application fee and the 500 for the attorney or whatever review we can handle, but when we start to get into, thousands and thousands, then it's gonna become burdensome on the applicant.
Listen, I understand that and I can appreciate it. Unfortunately, the site that has been chosen here is in the B2 district and it requires a special use permit. Otherwise, they
Understood.
wouldn't have had to come here
Yeah,
if their
no, I
use was
understand.
permitted as of right. So by choosing to do business in this location of the village, these are the ramifications
I'm
of
not asking
it.
for any special dispensation, I'm just asking for consideration as
But
to.
that's not, as the village's consultant, I can't,
No,
I can't just be like, yeah, no problem.
No, I'm just saying, they are not-for-profit, this is not, this is not moms that are making money off other moms, tutoring other people's kids. This is parents that are coming there with their kids to get them state certified. So, anything that they are putting up for having this space is really them scraping their wallets to come and have this space so they can be certified by the state and stay legal and get the kids through the school system. There are kids that don't fall into the regular flow of other kids. And
I understand, and if they were to have chosen a site that didn't require a special use permit, you could have avoided this. But this is
Right.
the decision that you made, and I'm
Yeah.
not trying to create a hardship. This is just the
Right.
way the process works.
No, we
I didn't make the
understand.
process,
No,
I'm just part of
we
it.
understand, just, again, they're staying on the same property basically from where they've always been. The parking, the traffic, everything really stays the same. They're just moving from one building to another on what was always the same property, so.
That's where nice property owners like you guys come in and give them a break, right?
Listen, I've had kids myself, I have 4 kids myself, and 2 of them march to a tune of a different drummer, and I embrace that to the best of my ability, but, that's why we have this warm feeling for them to do what they're doing. So, thank you for your time.
All right, so we're good? The escrow is gonna be
Do
$3,000.
you want me to write the check now?
No, you don't have, when you drop off the application,
Okay,
so it's.
all right, so I'll come up and see you tomorrow. Do I have to do it before noon? I heard you say something before noon for somebody else.
No,
No.
it's the ZBA.
Oh, that's somebody else.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Anytime.
I'll get up there tomorrow. It may not be before noon. And will I have the comment letter back so I can start addressing that, or?
Oh, yeah.
Will that come?
Can you give them a copy?
Oh, I can give you this.
All right, cool.
I'll also email it.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, thank you, thank you. Good evening.
All right, have a good night. All right. 146 East Main Street.
Hello all. So, just a quick recap. We have provided for the September meeting, I believe, an updated EAF on this project regarding the changes that were made to the site and kind of where we were on that. And then, based on Mr. Lasardi's recommendation at the last meeting, we provided a synopsis of the changes to the building as well as the site and submitted updated site plans and architectural renderings for the project that also go with that. So, I don't know where we want to go from here in terms of.
It's up to you. Do you want to talk about some of the changes to the site plan from
Okay.
the original first? We'll start with those.
Basically, the major changes are that we are removing one parking space. Let me just put this around properly here. One part, NYSEG came in, they put a new pole and an electric panel here on the site. So that was their necessary location to put that. Unfortunately, that's where we had a parking spot also. So we need to eliminate one parking spot right here in this corner of the property. So we had 41 approved, we have 40 now. There's one thing there. Another thing is that the overhangs on the front entry as well as the north end of the building were extended approximately 4 feet beyond what was approved previously. There are window wells that have been placed in various portions around the site. I think there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I believe, total that have been added to the building and are shown on the site plan. It doesn't show on this plan, it's on the, we have added on the landscaping plan vegetative screening on the north end of the property, which would actually be on 140 East Main Street. That will require an easement from the owner of 140. It's a related ownership there, so that would be along here to give us some visual break on that. Another thing is the sign that was previously approved has been modified for this sign. So it's a brick, you can see what's there now, basically. Brick piers on 2 sides, then we'd be infilling that with a sign panel with whatever the name of the restaurant is, and gooseneck lighting on either side of that. Minor change, the dumpster pad was poured slightly larger than that, but it really doesn't affect anything, and it's in this location. The overall coverage on the site is actually the same or less than what was approved, because we had originally an entrance along the sidewalk into this outdoor dining area here. That has been eliminated, so that's some paving that has been removed on there. Some of the things you see on the site right now, there's a Belgian block apron at the entry that's gonna be removed, paved as it was necessary for the approved plan. And the Belgian block curbing along East Main Street is gonna be removed and put in with an appropriate concrete curb there as well. I think on the site plan, I think that's the majority of it.
Sorry, what did you say happened with the refuse? I just didn't catch that.
I think the pad was just poured slightly larger.
Oh.
So it's generally the same enclosure as it was, but the pad was poured slightly larger. That's all that was done there. I know there was some discussion also at the last meeting on the generator pad that was installed on 140 East Main Street. The generator's been taken off site, removed, not part of this application. If at some point we come back and with power outages or whatever and need to put a generator in here, we'll approach the board again at that time, but right now, no generator.
Is that showing where you said you're taking the curbing out and putting concrete in its place?
Well, basically, we're taking a lot of the things out that were installed and going back to the original site plan. So it basically shows on this plan what was previously approved, so it's gonna be removed and installed as it should have been. Same thing with all the parking layout, all this stuff in here per the approved plan.
What's planned along 22?
Is that along 22, I think there's forsythias now. Those are gonna be, put what should be there, evergreens. But that's part of the original approval, so that's what's going on.
And that's on this plan?
Yes, this is a hybrid of basically the approved plan and this couple of changes I just went over with you. But it goes back to the original approved plan.
So it's not on your, whatever's on the approved plan?
No, this is a hybrid of the two. The approved plan with the minor changes being proposed that I just went over. So any of the curbing, all the parking layout, everything that's in it is per the approved plan that this board went through. So this would be the updated plan at this point.
Gotcha. So, anything else you want to go over?
No, I mean, I think that's it for the site. I think we've talked about the building itself too, the architectural elements of that.
Elevations?
Yeah, so, do you want to go over those again? Or?
Do you want to?
Not really, but if we need to, that's fine.
Yeah, you may as well. They should be quick. I think at this point we could.
All right, so basically, I think we're all well aware of what the building looks like now. That's basically some pictures of the building right now, so. We're gonna go back to a majority of what was approved with the previous site plan approval on here. We've got the windows, we're gonna be putting more white trim on here. We talked about the brick on the building, and what was stone veneer is now brick veneer, but we are going over some of that. and covering it with the trim material to bring more white into here. We're gonna be removing the brick knee wall on the second floor of the outdoor dining area and putting a railing system in there that will match the front entry and also the entry of the north part of the building, excuse me, that would be here, which was installed to put a couple of the HVAC units on, but that'll be screened by the railing system there. We're gonna be adding columns along the front East Main Street side on the outdoor dining area on the ground floor level to better go back to what was originally approved, was a double column system there, and putting a cap along that. We were proposing to leave the brick half wall on the first floor only and put evergreen planting in the front of that just to soften that a little bit. That'll kind of keep people, I think, contained within that outdoor dining area because it is fairly close to the road. So I think that's what's done there. They did add a window into the kitchen, which is underneath this bump out here, you can see, and then the roof color and the roof material, which is then like synthetic terracotta tile.
Does the board have any questions?
I'm certainly glad that they made some changes back to the original site plan, but there are still quite a few major changes that haven't been changed, which are a concern.
All right, I'm gonna open it up to Karen for her review.
I just have one question.
Mhm.
The variances, the area variances
Yes.
that were approved previously, is there any change to what was granted approval upon?
No, it didn't change any of the setbacks. The coverage is actually the same or less than what was
That's what you
approved.
Mhm.
And that was basically it. And then the parking space sizes, which aren't changing, and it's only those parking spaces that are along 22 in here, so that didn't change, so that stays exactly the same.
Okay.
So it doesn't change ZBA stuff.
Gotcha.
Just one thing that I happened to notice was the overhangs.
Yes.
They're, I believe, only supposed to be 2 feet on most buildings into any yards.
Mhm.
Side yards?
It's not like.
Side yards, I don't remember which one it is. It's, those are just 4 feet? Are those considered side, like, what are the yards actually for this?
No, we're actually with, those two areas that we're talking about, Rob,
You're within the
are
main yard.
the building, so our building here, we're extending, let's see. Yes, we're extending this way and this way. So we're really not encroaching any further closer to,
The side yards?
yeah, we're fine with those, because those are the two sides that we're actually farther away from required setbacks.
Right.
So we're not extending
Into
over
yard.
the setback line.
Right.
So I did mean to ask this, what's the square footage of the building now?
It's the same square footage as it was before, I think
It's the overhangs.
Oh, the
that keep
overhangs
bigger.
are extending?
Yeah, they're
Not
just.
the building, okay.
No, the
sorry.
building itself, it's just this,
Misunderstood that.
Karen, it's the front entry went out 4 feet, this covered entry, and just the roof over this here, which was the stairs going down, just extended over the sidewalk, just to allow those HVAC units on the roof, so there's no
Okay.
enclosed space.
I see.
Right.
Kurt, anything happening to the siding in terms of color or anything else?
Okay, so I think it's the wish of the owner to leave it the taupe color siding it is, but it is up for discussion with the board that could be a white siding if that's.
I mean, original rendering looked gray or off-white.
It was kind of like a white on white kind of
Yeah.
theme, actually. That was the original there.
Yeah.
But I think the owner's position was in terms of with the roof change, maybe if we went to a white on white palette, it just gets one color out of the mix, just for discussion.
Is there any change to the roof?
No proposed change to the roof, no, as it is installed properly right now.
Do you guys have any, or, sorry?
I still have my 4 main concerns. The roof, the bottom knee wall,
Mhm.
initially when we discussed the knee walls, you said that the bottom knee wall was gonna stay for privacy.
Mhm.
This time around, you said it was a safety issue.
It's both.
Both. I understand that.
Mhm.
I understand it could be a safety issue, and safety is paramount with everyone, so once again, I'd like to see that bottom knee wall removed and go with the original site plan. The brick, I will argue that the motion that was made for you folks to supply us with 2 additional quotes for bricks was just that. The spirit of the motion was to bring us back two other quotes, or 2 other documentation that you could not get the brick. But that did not give you permission to go ahead and put the brick up. So the spirit of that motion was still, let's discuss the brick. And at this point, I'll turn it over to Rob. Well, not right now, I won't turn it over to Rob, because I have one other thing I want to discuss. But I want you to discuss the fact that during that evening, when we were discussing potential suppliers for the stone, was it O&G?
Yeah, O&G was one of them.
O&G was one of them, and that my naivety, or me being so naive and looking at the world through rosy-colored glasses, I would assume that you would have, in good faith, actually contacted that stone supplier, because this is where you'll take over. There was no 6-month, 8-month, 10-month lead time to get stone. You could have gotten stone, and you can get stone today. So I'll let Rob, he had discussions with that gentleman, so I'll let Rob finish that.
From O&G? Yeah, I mean.
And then lastly, a major thing is the sign, the brick sign, more brick, that wasn't approved on the original site plan that I'm against. Those are four things that have got to be changed.
Yeah, I mean, O&G, I reached out to them, and they had a certain amount of full bed stone in stock. Was it enough to do the whole building? And it was enough to get started. And even, there was also an alternate solution we gave. They did have a thinner brick that could have been used in some manner just to eliminate some of the brick, or thin stone, sorry, not thin brick. So we tried a cheaper, more readily available option that, it didn't seem like any consideration was really taken to them.
When did you speak with O&G?
Right around the time at one of the meetings that we had about using brick over stone.
Back at that time?
Yeah, back at that time.
And you just spoke with O&G not long ago.
Yeah, I brought a quote in from O&G showing the thin brick. And they
Can I say something?
Sure.
Say something?
Downstairs.
Everything is done, and nothing was done unintentionally. It was a mistake, was a careless, or whatever it was, the supervisor at that time, or whatever happened. Think of the past. We discussed the problem. What kind of solution have to correct this thing without to get a jackhammer and chop the brick? Louis, it's almost impossible to chop the brick. Why don't we cooperate and make it the best we can, in my knowledge, because this building, unfinished, nobody got the benefit. I get it very well, and nobody got anything. This building was finished, the town would collect tax, the people would be employed. Let's make it the best. We need your help now. Whatever happened, many times, something happened in the building. Nobody done anything intentional to go over your head or to disrespect anybody. My super was a little careless. He said, we're gonna do today, because if I would have brought to my attention at that time, I would have stopped him. Let's wait for the stone. But it's too late now. The building don't look bad. We could compromise, and I need your help, the best we could do. Let's finish it up. We are the talk over the country over here with this town. It's been there for 4 years at our place, and nobody got the benefit.
Mr. Tomasetti.
I need help. Louis, I need help.
I know.
Follow me say, because we both old people.
Oh, Thomas
Ouch.
Ouch.
Okay? Follow me say. Otherwise,
You got me.
okay.
Maybe he meant, older and
Anyway.
wiser.
Anyway, beside the
I'll
joke.
agree with that one.
We
He's
know,
older and
we
wiser.
know we make a mistake, and I apologize. I prove the town the way I operate. I'm an honest person. I do everything with my strength the best I can. You see the project, the rally motor over there, the rally garage was for 20 years already to fall. We got a nice building. The other one, the factory. And I wanna do this right. And I will link to obey all of you, whatever you want me to do. The best way to do. I don't punish me, go with the jackhammer and chop a brick.
Mr. Tomasetti,
Yes.
I'm gonna say that you're a builder. You're in the business.
Yeah.
You know exactly what's gotta be done, and you put
Okay.
up good buildings.
Spang on my hand.
No, you.
Every day.
And you put up good buildings, no
Yeah.
doubt about it.
Okay. Thank you.
This is 180 degrees different than what was approved.
Okay.
If,
Whatever,
but there's,
okay.
but there's a process here.
Okay, let me interrupt you for a minute, if you
Go
don't
ahead,
mind.
sure.
This building is a matter of opinion. I understand we don't follow the draw the way it was approved. But majority of the people, they like it, they say it's a nice building. Matter of opinion, we don't follow the order, we don't follow the way we're supposed to do, but we link the compromise and make it better, to let it pass. But let's finish it out.
You see how this goes? Or there are 8,000 residents in the town and the village of Pawling. Each one of them has an opinion about this building.
Okay,
It's a selective opinion.
okay.
Everybody, let me finish.
You as authority, you have the power, you have the knowledge, and I respect you. What can we do without to get the jackhammer?
I don't want you to get the
Spend
jacket.
something, do something, modify, redesign, modify.
So,
Wait, we're gonna
let
wait
Lou
for some.
finish.
Okay?
Let him go.
Louis,
That's
let's-
okay, I understand.
Finish. If you were
Yep.
my spot, what you will do? I get hurt very bad over here. I bought
First
this
of all,
property
if I
4
was
years ago,
you,
yeah.
your general contractor would have been gone the first week.
Who was it? I know.
Whoever he was, he would have been gone, because
Okay.
this would have never happened.
I
And you're
understand,
right,
but think
and
of the price.
you're right, Mr. Tomasetti, this building is the talk of the country.
Okay.
It is the talk of the country.
Okay.
So getting back to what I said, everybody in Pauling's got an opinion, that's a selective opinion.
Okay.
Or, my opinion is an objective opinion. A selective opinion is a personal opinion. My opinion is an objective opinion based on fact, based on the comprehensive plan, based on zoning codes, and all those 8,000 people, the decision-making comes down to 5 people. That's why we have a planning board, and that's why we have a zoning board. Now, if we are going to just disregard all this, and I say, Mr. Tomasetti, you're a nice guy. Go ahead. You might as well do away with the planning board.
No, I didn't expect it.
No, I know that, I'm
You
making
already punished me more.
No, I don't wanna
Mistake, I didn't get even the guy, I
Mr.
should have given the
Tomasetti,
guy in
I
the
don't
beginning.
wanna punish you.
Anyway,
I just wanna make sure that the process continues the way it's supposed to be.
okay.
Because if this project is to go along like this, do away with the planning board. Because any other applicant that comes before me and said, you know, we approved the building to be this, and this, look,
Okay, Louis.
I made a mistake.
Good. I don't want to interrupt you again.
No, you can
And
interrupt me all you want, that's not a
all the
problem.
man, bro, all of the hand. Whatever we did before, I think of the past. I know we screw up, we got a problem. Let's resolve them, because by doing nothing, don't help anybody. This thing too far gone, is built, let's finish, we can make something nice with you. You want me to paint the wall, or you want me to do some other thing?
I'd like to see the stone on the wall, right on top of the brick. It could be done.
It could be done by look, as a look, it could be a fake brick.
No, I'm not fake brick, you can put stone up, you can put stone in.
Come up with some idea if we can make a couple of columns, some strip or something.
There's really not that much brick that you'd have to cover up.
Yeah. Let's, whatever we could come
How
up
about
in
we paint it?
reasonable.
We paint it.
I don't wanna chop the brick.
What's that, Diana?
To
Can we
make
paint
it the
it?
brick,
The brick.
to make it the brick, you don't have footing.
Wait, Dad,
I'm sorry,
we'll bring
Dad,
up
Dad,
walls.
Dad, Maybe paint the brick.
Paint?
I know you don't like that.
How about whitewash, like the old days?
Yeah,
You wanna paint it?
that's what he wanted.
Anywhere else.
That's what I
You see,
did.
you see, if you a builder, and I'm a superintendent of the city of New York for 50 years.
I know.
I run a job.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of experience. When you lay stone over here, you gotta remove the brick. Otherwise, where do you order the stone? You need a foundation. You need a shelf for the stone. Now, you gotta remove the brick and put the stone. Because if you put them on the front, you don't have a foundation, you don't have a foundation, what do you hold in the
Well,
edge?
you can't make a foundation?
We've been a boss. How do you handle the window? We'd be like a hell.
You can make a foundation.
There's,
We'd be like a hell.
actually, Lou, to that point,
It's very
there's not a
difficult.
lot of room in a lot of, even if taking 6 inches out of like a sidewalk width may not work. But
No,
the concept of, okay, just talking out loud.
Legally, sorry if I interrupt, you talk to an engineer.
Thank you, Louis.
You talk to an engineer, they don't let you do, they don't approve. Everything is done on this building.
Sorry.
Is OSHA approved by an engineer and by thing, because I have experience and I done and I went over. Foundation, full length, full foundation, that way it was designed, put the porch on the top of the dirt, on the top of the, separate. The building was separated from the porch. This way I got a foundation all the way down to the bottom. That's my cup of tea, that's what I do. I build a building in Manhattan and I know how to do this. So the caller, the other issue, we could work it out. With your help.
Nobody ever
Okay.
questioned the integrity of your building.
Okay.
That doesn't come into question, it's the aesthetics.
Let's
And-
not talk about the aesthetic. Let's not talk about the aesthetic, let's not talk about the problem.
Go interrupt.
Come with the solution. The
Well,
best
okay,
way we can
so
do
We
it.
have to talk about the problem.
Right, but I think
The problem
the
is
point
pain,
is.
because when somebody's dead, you can't revive. Every time when they call me, I say, Sam, Mr. Tomaseri, come to the job, we have a problem. I say, I don't wanna hear the problem, what can we do to resolve it?
I think that's the
The
crux of
water
it.
clamp, the things get, we take care, we do things in Manhattan. We forgot the window, 20-story, we're over there with the saw, we soak out, we make an opening. It's always the things to do, we can fix this the right way, make them look good. Satisfy you.
And I think that's, the point is, we have a building, whether right or wrong, it's 90% done, if not more.
No,
How
I
can we
need
get,
water.
how can we get to the point, how can we get to the point where we can work
No,
something
just-
together?
just-
If there's some give and take, if there's some, I don't know, it's just a matter of how can we make this work so we can get this restaurant open? It may not be all of our perfect dreams.
It will be,
Underst-
it will be, we can make them.
Understood,
In
but I
reason.
think,
You see, if you go put a stone in the front over there, or you go remove the roof, you destroy the integrity. If you make me chop the wall, you disturb everything. I will cover, I will paint, I chop it, even at the top of railing, If you go chop, you vibrate the building, you're gonna have a crack over there 5 years from now, leaking over there, a leak on the other side. I won't chop, otherwise I abandon the building, and I won't do. I abandon, I leave them the way it is. I abandon. I'm already got it enough, we leave them like that. I wanna finish this in reason. And I need all you guys help, I need you help, I need everybody to help. Because we be, you know, when you have a problem you not resolve, there's two things. Either the problem is impossible, or you're not capable to resolve. We all are capable here to come up with a solution, with an engineer, with the architect, we take care. We don't need a lawyer because we're not fight. We're not fight here. I wanna cooperate and I wanna do the right thing. Please.
Well, there is a.
I need you help,
there is a-
not everybody else.
There is a fight, unfortunately, we've been spending a ton of money in court, and the court issued an order, they don't agree with, they basically said, that you were, the difference here is, you were told right at the outset, you had every opportunity to do it, but you did it anyway, and the problem is that if everybody, as Lou said, if everybody was able to do that and just say, well, forgiveness instead of, it's, like he said, what's the point of having a planning board? If you can just say you're gonna do one thing, get variances and reliance on that. Can I finish? Can I finish?
Yeah.
And then when you don't do what's said, you say, oh, it's a mistake, I'm sorry, forgive me. It's not, it just.
You see, this is
And
a-
also.
This is a lawyer talk.
No, no, no.
Why
no,
they
no.
make a jail? Why they make a jail? They make a jail to punish the guy who make a mistake. So if I make a mistake and I wanna fix,
It has
I'm not
nothing
a
to do-
criminal.
No, no, no. You know, the answer.
Everything
the
was
question-
done with
the
an
question that
explanation.
keeps- The question that keeps getting asked is, what do you need to do? The roof, if you took the roof off and made it what you said you were
Yeah.
gonna put on, that would solve that. I don't know about the brick thing, and that's above my pay grade, but the roof, I mean, that is something that you were told as it was going up, that it wasn't in accord with what you had agreed to do, and you got very significant variances. I mean, that building, you know, is so much bigger than the other one, and it.
It's
and it
not
was-
bigger than the other one.
Well, the one that was there.
Was approved to be big
McGrath.
two-story.
The
It was-
McGrath's?
No,
McGrath's
the
was
old
tiny little
building.
It's
building.
an 98. What do they do years ago? What they do? Any construction you do today? Any construction?
I'm not saying.
All over, they
I'm
do
not saying-
bigger than what it
I'm
was
not
back.
saying anything about the size per se. I'm saying that you got a bunch of variances in reliance on the promises you made. And now you're coming back to the board and saying, oh, well, you know, I didn't do that, but so, you know, we need a restaurant, and I'll abandon and you threaten to abandon the building. I mean, that's not, you know, that's.
If I got a chop, I say, if I gotta go over there with the jackhammer, this is a structural building the right way, the
I'm not a
right
builder.
way.
I'm not a builder, so I don't know anything about.
I do.
Yeah.
I'm a builder.
Are you
I know
talking
what I
about the
do.
roof also?
Huh?
You talking about the roof also with the jackhammer?
No, you can't take the roof down. I won't take the roof down.
You're
I
not
can
going
paint
to.
it.
I understand you're not going
We
to.
want a black.
I mean,
we can
the
paint it.
sad part is, Dave, unfortunately, with.
We can
we've
paint
got
it,
a-
that's
we've got a
an option.
roof
Hey, Sam.
that's on here,
Sam.
it's got $100,000 roof on there.
That's good, he did it.
Not saying
It's
it's,
irrelevant.
That's
I
enough
know,
for
but
them.
what I'm
Not
saying,
on
I
it.
understand that, but what I'm saying is,
Thank you.
it's unfortunate in these times when recycle, you know, we're gonna put a $100,000 roof in the dumpster.
You know, now that we're talking about the roof, I just want to bring up the fact that when the first course was going up, the applicant was told to stop, do not proceed. This is what we had, and then we could have worked something out at that point, with one course up.
Yeah, but we didn't do.
But they give a stop
Mr. Thomas
order.
said you were told to stop, one course.
No, they didn't give a
No.
stop order.
Oh, you had a stop work order for that,
No,
definitely.
you did
No.
not.
Oh,
The
yeah.
stop
No,
work
yeah.
order,
Never
that
had a
was
stop
in
order.
December.
Listen,
December.
you're
Word.
entitled
got
to your own
letters.
opinion, but not your own facts.
I wish
The
you had a
decision-
stop order.
The decision of the court will, if you read the decision, you were issued, and that's, I don't know exactly what was in the judge's head, but she agrees with what Lou is saying 100%. And she's not from here, she's not, you know, and, you know, you're saying people are punishing, nobody is trying to punish you. It's a sad thing that's happening here, that the restaurant isn't done, but it's something that you control, you made
I
a
hope-
decision,
I
and
hope.
it, you know.
I hope
it's-
you guys would have given me a stop order, it would have helped me. But when I get a stop
You
order.
did get that. You
That
got
was
that.
in December, was
We
that
didn't-
right?
We didn't have a stop order,
Yes, you
verbally.
did.
I
No,
never,
you did.
I
No, you
don't,
did.
show me where
It
the
was a
stop
step-
order is.
Read the decision of the court, it's all laid
The
out.
stop order was
There
in
were
December.
letters. There
You
were
can say
letters.
whatever you want.
No,
but
Dave, you
but
do have your facts wrong on
We
that.
didn't have the stop order,
there was-
to my knowledge.
The court,
The court,
The
no,
court
the
was
court, the
convinced.
court agreed that what was built is different than what was approved.
yeah, but they
That's
also,
what the
they
court
also
agreed.
addressed your argument about the stop work orders. And they were very clear, and
That was limited to the interior work. The
No.
court did not get into the timing of when they were issued, and the facts are that the stop work order was
They
issued.
talked,
after the work was
they
done.
talked
But that's not
specifically.
relevant right
They
now.
talked it is relevant, because it's relevant to what you're saying, that, like, somehow you're being punished by the planning board, when in fact.
Nobody
this is-
is saying that. Nobody is saying
I'm pretty sure.
that. In order to move this forward, I mean, all the parties say we like to try to move it forward. The next step here is to schedule a public hearing and refer the application to the county planning.
All right. Well, I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
Yeah, in order to move this process forward, which everybody says they want to do, I should think they want to do, the next step would be to schedule a public hearing and refer the application to county planning.
So what do you think the county planning would do?
Well, wait a second, I don't.
Make
wait,
their-
Well, I think,
wait,
that's
I
just a
don't-
formality.
That's just a requirement, that's just a requirement, yeah, it's a
Yeah,
formality.
it just
We're not
has-
getting
don't
into
come
it.
back
We're
to
not
that
getting-
a
Don't get
little
into it.
All right.
It's not.
I just want to say one thing.
So how do we go forward?
I just want to say one thing before we start. I mean, this has got to be one of the worst examples of deviating from a site plan I think the village has seen. I mean, I don't care, no matter whose fault it was, we can argue about that forever, but from what was approved by a planning board to what we have now And even still, the changes that are being shown on the site plan that were done, like without even coming back and amending the site plan, for Kurt to now come back and, like, he wasn't around for a little while, and then he had to go back there and say, well, this wasn't the way it was on the site plan, this way it wasn't. So there were so many things on this one. There's gotta be, it has to be one of the worst examples of not following a site plan that we've seen. And I mean, the judge did agree that procedure was not followed properly. Like, we tried to save you money. We brought you in here every time. As soon as the brick was on site, we brought you in and said, what are you doing with the brick? I don't think there's pavers going on the ground. Like, and they just went up anyway.
And I should get a stop.
We
all
tried.
over.
I know.
Stop all and reading, I would have stopped.
Yeah, I know.
I don't know nothing about it. They approved it.
Eventually, I know, eventually, and I think the, right, and I think the building department was trying to show some leniency. Mr. Tomasetti, I think the building department was trying to show some leniency, so work didn't have to stop inside the building, even though the outside was changing. So they didn't come down with the hammer and do the stop work order. We said, can you please come back in?
Let me just read from the court decision. On September 14th, 2021, Main Corner appeared before the planning board and requested permission to substitute brick for the stone siding on an approved site plan. On September 24th, 2021, Main Corner began installing brick siding rather than the approved stone. By letter dated September 27th, the village representative advised Main Corner inter alia that the planning board had not approved the use of brick siding and that its continued use was at Main Corner's own risk. A copy of the letter, a copy which is attached, Main Corner continued to install the brick. By letter dated November 10th, the Board of Trustees advised Main Corner that in addition to the use of brick siding, it was also in violation of the approved site plan in 2 other respects, including the use of alternative unapproved roofing materials, and its continued use was at its own risk. It goes on, and the court, you know, your arguments, your lawyer made these arguments to a judge, and the judge is as objective as any, you know, and he disagreed, and he went with the village and said, no, you can't ignore, what would we be if there's, I mean, if you can say, oh, I'm gonna build a building, but I'm, you know, and then I do it totally different,
Nobody has those intentions, nobody has those intentions.
I'm not talking about your intent, I don't know,
Nobody has.
I don't really know about intention, it really doesn't matter. It was done, somebody knew about it, your agent knew about it, and you're responsible for your agent. So that's the unfortunate part of this.
I was told if we can't get no stone, we can use the brick.
Okay,
That's
so
what I was told.
so we've made a
I never would have used.
We've made an application with an amended site plan, amended aesthetics on the building, and we have a right to a public hearing. And the board will make a decision on this amended site plan and building.
Right.
No reason not to proceed with the public hearing. The board is all aware of what's going on here.
But right now, but first, there's gonna be seeker has to be looked at. So there's not gonna be a public hearing until that.
No, why?
process is-
No, you do seeker after a public hearing. And we submitted an EAF 6 weeks ago, 2 months ago. Yes, we did.
The board can entertain it.
Now, not scheduling the public hearing is simply
No,
delay
That
for
was part
delay's
of,
sake.
that's part of what we needed to move forward, was that EAF, as well as an updated site plan, as well as, the elevation showing,
Yep.
you know, the changes that you wanna make.
And
So
you-
we're getting there, we're getting there. We
Okay.
had the.
You're there. You're not
the
getting
report.
there. You're there.
No, we're getting there. So we do have a resolution planned for tonight, and I'm gonna read it to you. All right, the resolution is on or about 10/11/2022, the planning board issued let me back up. Is this the right resolution I got here?
You want me to read it?
Could you,
Starts
because I got the
with
date.
where is honor-
Yeah, I have the date right
On or
here.
about, date of that. Did you take that back, the seeker resolution to make that?
No. No, you should have it.
I just don't have the right date. I need to know.
That one? 2020. Yes, I think, well, let's see, this was, no, this is it, yeah, it was, on or about October 13th, 2020, the planning board issued a negative declaration under the New York State Environmental Quality Review Act, seeker with respect to the application of Main Corner Properties LLC for site plan approval to construct a building and other improvements. The project on the premises located at 146 East Main Street, Pawling, New York. On or about December 8th, 2020, the planning board approved such site plan application subject to certain conditions and limitations, one of which stated this approval is limited to and conditioned upon the plan specifications and uses set forth in the application for site plan approval as amended, and the reports of the village engineer and the village planner submitted to and accepted by the planning board in the review of the application. Based on violations by the applicant of certain of the foregoing conditions, on August 22nd, 2022, Honorable Christy L. DeLessio, Justice of the Supreme Court of the State of New York, County of Dutchess, issued a decision and order which granted the village's application for a preliminary injunction enjoining the applicant from performing any further work on the premises unless and until proper permits are obtained from the building department of the village of Pawling, or the prior permit, which was revoked as of December 22nd, 2021, is restored by the building department for the village of Pawling. Whereas the planning board has discussed the fact that the applicant's application for modifications to the site plan for the project, defined as modification application, includes substantive changes that were not previously considered by the planning board. Whereas the nature of these substantive changes has been discussed by the planning board at this and prior meetings. Whereas 6 NYCRR 617.7F provides as follows: rescission of negative declaration. At any time prior to its decision to undertake, fund, or approve an action, a lead agency must rescind a negative declaration when substantive changes are proposed for the project, or new information is discovered, or changes in circumstances related to the project arise that were not previously considered, and the lead agency determines that a significant adverse environmental impact may result. Prior to any rescission, the lead agency must inform other involved agencies and the project sponsor, and must provide a reasonable opportunity for the project sponsor to respond. If following reasonable notice to the project sponsor's determination is the same, the lead agency must prepare, file, and publish a positive declaration in accordance with section 617.12 of this part. Whereas the planning board has received and evaluated the report from the village architect opining that the changes to the site plan proposed by the applicant may have significant adverse environmental impacts relating to nonconformance with the village's comprehensive plan, community character, and significant adverse visual and aesthetic impacts. Whereas the planning board has considered the village architect's report and is engaged in further discussion and consideration as to whether the modification application may result in significant adverse environmental impact, including significant adverse impacts relating to nonconformance with the village's comprehensive plan, community character, and significant adverse visual and aesthetic impacts. Now therefore be it resolved as follows. 1, that the modification application involves proposed substantive changes for the project, as well as changes in circumstances related to the project that were not previously considered. 2, the changes proposed in the modification application may result in a significant adverse environmental impact. 3, prior to considering a resolution to rescind the negative declaration, the planning board shall inform other involved agencies and the applicant of its intent to rescind the negative declaration, and will provide the applicant and such agencies a reasonable opportunity to respond. 4, providing the applicant a period of 30 days to respond as provided above is deemed by the planning board to be a reasonable time period. 5, following the receipt and consideration of responses from the applicant and involved agencies and such other information deemed relevant by the planning board will thoroughly analyze any identified relevant areas of environmental concern and changes in circumstances related to the project that were not previously considered. 6, following the actions described in section 5 above, the planning board will consider and vote on a motion to rescind the negative declaration.
Dave, you gotta go back to where you first started reading from the seeker regs. Neg deck can be rescinded only prior to taking action on the application.
Thanks for your input.
This board already took action on that negative declaration.
You can make that part
You
of the
cannot
record.
rescind a neg deck after the project's been approved.
This is a new undertaking.
Correct.
You're wrong, Ben.
Correct, so there's no reason to rescind the neg deck either. We have a new seeker submission now. You're wrong on the law, Dave. Read the words again, so we can all hear them.
You're not reading anything. You're wrong.
Read the words again. What do the seeker regs say?
Move to rescind the negative declaration.
You don't have legal authority to do that. That's just another delay tactic. What's the point? What's the point?
Those are the kind of arguments you made in court and the judge disagreed. So
No,
you made them with the same.
I didn't make those
degree of
arguments
emotion.
in
Well, you
court.
made a lot of arguments and they were all rejected. So.
On the
that's-
facts, not the
and
law.
you were saying it the exact same way, so.
Please read that again, where you talked about rescission of a
I'm not
negative
reading anything,
declaration.
Ben. I'm not, I'm just, I said what I said, and that's our opinion.
Your board members are going to get a letter tomorrow pointing out that that's erroneous.
Go right ahead.
You can't rescind a neg deck after the approval's been granted.
Let's move forward.
Yeah, so what do we?
Keep order, please, you gotta.
Yeah, so we're making a motion. What is actually the
That's
motion?
the motion to approve the resolution.
The motion is to rescind the negative declaration.
No, we're not-
No.
Wait.
I'm allowed to speak.
Wait, you'll be allowed to speak when you're
Okay.
recognized,
Yeah.
okay?
Fine,
Yeah, you're certainly gonna be allowed to speak, you're a representative.
fine,
But let's keep order,
okay,
and once you get recognized, you can speak.
fine.
In the meantime, I say we move forward with accepting the.
No, I need to speak
Can
before the
I-
resolution is voted on. That's not proper procedure. I'm not allowed to comment before the resolution is voted on.
You already did comment.
The whole purpose of this resolution is to unlawfully rescind a neg deck on a new application.
Hold
There's
on.
nothing to rescind
We're gonna make the motion first, and then you'll get a chance to speak,
before the vote.
before we finish voting. Can I get a motion?
Yeah, I make a motion to move forward with the resolution.
Now, do I second, or do I give a chance to comment?
You just get a second, and then you can
Oh,
second on this.
If we, I don't know what the difference is, if it's a new one, like you're claiming, or if we're rescinding the old one.
I can explain that.
What is functionally, what's the
Yeah,
difference?
I can explain that. It's very important. Because what this resolution says,
Well, first of all, there's a motion to accept the resolution, we need a
It hasn't been
second.
seconded
Okay.
yet. Mike's not seconded. I'll second it, and now,
for the sake of discussion.
Okay.
go ahead, before we ask.
Yeah, so if this resolution is approved, the negative declaration is rescinded, but there's nothing to rescind because the board already approved this application on the prior application. So you're rescinding a neg deck which is already gone, it's meaningless. The board has to make a new seeker determination on this application. It's nothing to do with the old neg deck.
This is
I'm
the same.
speaking, I'm speaking.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Functionally, what's the difference?
Getting there. Under this resolution, the board rescinds the negative declaration, sends notice out to the applicant and all the other agencies, gives us 30 days to contest the rescission of the negative declaration. Then you actually go ahead and rescind it 30 or 60 days later, and now we're still in this procedural process, and we're not getting anywhere on the actual substance of the revisions that we're proposing. Whereas what I am requesting is that the board proceeds with a seeker review on this application, because you haven't done anything on seeker yet, and we hold a public hearing next month to hear what the public has to say, and you also forward this application to the county planning, which is required, as your planner's letter states. And that way we're making some substantive process and not spinning wheels procedurally for unnecessary delay. What's being proposed to you does nothing to resolve any of these differences concerning the aesthetics of that building. Absolutely nothing.
Duly noted.
So, I mean, what I believe what he's trying to say is that somehow this is a whole different project.
No, it's a new application. I'm not saying it's a whole different project at all.
But
I'm
it
saying it's
talks
a new
about-
application.
The language is at any time prior to its decision to undertake, fund, or approve an action, which in this case is the application.
It's the prior approval. Read the words again.
Ben,
Please read the words
stop
again.
interrupting me.
Yeah,
You gotta control
I think,
it.
yeah, sorry. Well,
No, I'm
Let's give
sorry.
him an opportunity to
No,
speak.
I'm
You're
sorry.
cutting him off.
Dave, please read the words again. Listen carefully.
At any time prior to its decision to undertake, fund, or approve an action, a lead agency must rescind a negative declaration.
Okay, that's enough.
Wait a second.
Yeah,
Okay, sorry.
There might be-
Jesus
yeah.
Christ.
All right, read it slowly. Please, no, really. It's important that the
Rob,
board
can you
understand
please
this.
control this
Again?
meeting?
Really?
Really, I mean, I can't.
At any time
This is
prior to undertaking the action, you can rescind the neg deck. You've already undertaken the action when you approved this on that negative declaration. So you can't rescind it now because it's not prior to undertaking the action.
Read your case
No.
law, Ben, you're
Yeah.
so far off base,
It's
I
right
can't
off
even
the-
believe it. You know, and you know it.
No, I don't
Just
know.
like
I know,
this-
I looked at that before.
I've looked at the cases, and when a project gets modified, which is exactly what's happening here.
Right.
This is what happens.
No, if it gets modified during the approval process,
No.
not after it's been approved.
Yeah, no, it's, I don't think that's the
So
way.
you guys are gonna be embarrassed tomorrow morning.
There are cases where 30 years prior, there was a negative declaration issued, and there's a modification of a subdivision application, and the courts say you need to rescind the negative declaration from 30
You don't
years
rescind the
before.
old one. You have to
Town of
redo
Unionville.
seeker on the new one.
Town of Unionville case, take a look at it.
Why would there even be language to rescind a negative declaration? Because it sounds like you're saying that you never rescind a negative declaration.
If you issue a neg deck, but you haven't yet approved or denied the project, and then the applicant makes substantial modifications, then you can rescind the neg deck.
Isn't that what we're doing?
No, we've made
This
a
has
new.
been approved.
No, we made a new
Right.
application. You already approved it.
Yeah.
And now we've made a new application with a new seeker process.
This is an amendment.
I called it an
Yeah.
application to
Yeah.
amend.
I think we're going in
It's
circles.
an application to amend your site plan.
It's a new
Why did you
application.
call it an application to amend your site plan?
Because that's what it is.
It's an amendment of an existing application.
No, it's not.
Unbelievable.
That application ended when it got approved. What I'm saying, it's so logical, it makes sense, you just refuse to, you don't wanna believe it, you just refuse to.
Yeah, I guess so.
We're just gonna be in a
I
cycle
think we're
now
gonna-
of 60 days,
Ben,
90 days procedural delay.
I know. I wish this building would have been open 8 months ago if we just followed the site plan, and here we are. I know, we're just spinning our wheels, but
So
this is,
don't approve-
procedurally, this is what we have to do.
No, it's not.
It is.
No, it's not. And let me say one other thing.
Let's
May I say one other thing?
Let's not continue to argue.
Yeah, one last thing. I'll let him say one last thing, and let's be done with this for tonight, please.
If there were any thought about rescinding a negative declaration or starting a process to rescind a negative declaration, the municipal attorney would have contacted me and let me know about that and given me a heads up.
Oh, now you're changing gears.
All right.
The name of the case is Leonard versus the Planning Board of the Town of Unionville. All right, you can look it up. It's a second department case.
Okay.
All right, can we take, I seconded
Okay.
that motion. So Vivian, can you take a roll?
Mike Mersand,
Nay. Who was that? Nay. No.
Pete Pinelli's not here, Lou Musella,
Aye.
Adam Morosky's not here, and Rob Pfister.
Aye.
So that does not pass.
Two ayes.
You need 3. You need a majority of the full quorum, or the full board. May I ask the board then to make another motion to schedule a public hearing for your next month's meeting?
I would recommend that the board put this meeting over to the next meeting when you have a full board and revote it then.
So now we got a 90-day delay.
I get that.
I heard somebody say it's all right over here.
It is what it is. This is your application.
No, that's right.
This is not this board's, it's your application.
Correct, and we like to
These are
move the
procedures
application
this board
forward,
has
and the
to
board has
follow.
said they'd like to move the application
The board is
forward.
required to follow these procedures, and that's what it's gonna do.
It's not required to follow those procedures.
Rob, let's wrap it up. Let's say with the, Mr. Lasardi, let's follow his advice.
Yeah.
Go until the next meeting.
Yeah.
Put it over and have another vote. Okay?
All right.
Is there anything we can do in the interim?
No, what is the motion?
To put the meeting over, to continue the meeting?
I think you would adjourn the meeting to next month's meeting, to have a full board, and then revote this issue.
The same issue that we're saying that possibly doesn't even really need to happen.
And doesn't achieve anything substantively at all.
So we can't do, can you at least consider the alternative to what Ben suggested? Is there a reason why we can't schedule a public hearing for next week,
That's not.
and next month? Does
I
our
don't know.
neg deck really, does it mean anything whether it's been rescinded or not to have a public hearing? Because this is a new application. So can we at least bring the amendments and the things that we're willing to change to the public?
It doesn't.
I mean, we have, throughout these meetings, we've shown what the amendments are to the public.
Yeah, but we
Well, the
haven't,
public's not here, you have to hold a public hearing, so let's hold a public hearing.
No, Rob, let's
Yeah.
do what Bob says. Let's
Yeah.
schedule
Lou,
another
you're not the
meeting.
boss.
I
I'm
suggest.
sorry, but.
I know,
I know, this is not
I'm
just-
not the boss.
I know, and this is not just my
But I
board
can
either, like, it's
I understand.
it's
I say
everybody's board
We
here.
take the advice of council, we postpone this, we take it till next month, and we report when we have a full board.
Yeah, but it's in January, when it snow, then we're gonna do the construction.
Okay.
When you guys good and ready, we do, let's get out of here.
Yes, we do.
What can
All
we
right,
do?
but before we adjourn, we have old business.
It's just we are social
No,
ridiculous.
but I mean, if you're adjourning
This,
application.
When the snow is coming,
we're
not a
adjourning.
month.
Can I get a
6
motion to
months
adjourn
went
this
by,
application the
make
next
this easy.
meeting?
Yeah, I make a motion that we adjourn this application until next meeting.
You get a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, old business.
Gentlemen, good night. I leave it up to you guys.
Good night.
Good night.
You guys want to fire the Lloyd technology, we said the next year. It's a shame we can resolve the problem. Like one of the fathers in the house and they can control the children. That's what we hear. We start the fight, point the finger, what we didn't do, and the project is still like that. Nobody get the benefit out of it. Louis, nobody get the benefit out of it. When it be technically, the lawyer make money, send the bill, and the building is not built. That's what we do.
What do we got, Rob?
I don't, yeah, I think I have an old business offhand.
Pension resolution from last month, ratified the resolution.
I think that gets ratified in the approval of the minutes from last month. I don't think we actually ratified
Oh.
now,
Yeah,
do
we
we?
didn't, yeah,
I-
it wasn't, yeah,
I did.
exactly.
Yeah,
We were comfortable with that resolution.
right.
Got it. So,
Um,
other than that.
Escrow, do we have anybody in escrow that we should,
Nope.
all right, then maybe get a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
I'll second. In favor?
Thanks, Bob. Dave, thank you.